December 20, 2023, News Report 1, Countdown to Taiwan's Presidential Election, Similar Support Rates for KMT and DPP, Media Creates Suspense. As the countdown to Taiwan's presidential election reaches 24 days, major media outlets are unveiling the latest results of opinion polls. This series of releases seems aimed at creating an illusion of a neck-and-neck race between the Kuomintang, KMT, and the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP. A poll by pro-KMT media, represented by the United Daily News, shows support rates of 31% for both the KMT's candidate, Hao Zhao, and the DPP's candidate, Lai Xiao, creating a tight race. The People First Party's without a partner only has a 21% support rate. Meanwhile, results from the pro-DPP media Today show a slight gap, with 35.9% supporting Lai Xiao and 34.7% supporting Hao Zhao, a difference of only 1.2 percentage points. Without a partner has a support rate of less than 20%. It's worth noting that these polls may not accurately reflect voters' true preferences, as surveys from other media suggest a blue-green gap between 3 to 8 percentage points, less than 10 points. Nevertheless, KMT chairman Eric Chu believes that the Hao Zhao pairing has entered a golden cross period. To address this, a nationwide campaign rally will be held on December 23 in Taipei's Kaidajilan Boulevard, followed by a large-scale event in Taichung on the 24th. Over the next 3 weeks, Central Committee meetings will be held in Kaohsiung, Jiayi, and Tainan to garner support from Southern voters. In other political developments, 73-year-old Zhao Xiaokong has arranged 5 campus dialogues from December 9 to 26, focusing on attracting young voters. Meanwhile, according to the Zhongshan Daily, KMT Vice Chairman Xia Liyan attended the 30th anniversary of the Zhongshan City Taiwan Business Association on December 17. Zhang Zhijun, the chairman of the Association for Relations Across the Taiwan Straits, Sun Xingliang, the comprehensive director of the Taiwan Affairs Office, and Zhongshan City Party Secretary Guo Wenhai also participated in the event. Zhang Zhijun expressed the hope that Taiwanese businesses would adhere to the 1992 consensus and resolutely oppose separatist forces. Simultaneously, Chinese officials began issuing voting instructions to Taiwanese businessmen. On another note, Taiwan's Investigation Bureau found individuals using AI deepfake technology to spread false information, claiming that DPP presidential candidate Lai Ching-te had 3 mistresses. The video was disseminated on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter through 40 accounts with unidentifiable real identities. The Bureau has notified social media platforms to block these abnormal accounts. Meanwhile, on December 20, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense announced the suspension of National Defense University professor Gordon Geddes for 3 months, halting all research projects. This action was taken because Geddes collaborated with a Chinese businessman to register the university's patents in China, triggering an investigation. Defense Minister Chiu Kuo-cheng expressed extreme anger, labeling Geddes' actions as treason deserving of severe punishment. News Report 2, Colorado Supreme Court bans Trump from running in 2024 presidential election. On December 19, the Colorado Supreme Court decided by a 4-3 vote to prohibit former President Trump from participating in the Republican primaries for the 2024 presidential election. The decision was based on Trump's alleged incitement of supporters to attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, using violent means and displaying behavior indicating a disregard for the rule of law. The Colorado Supreme Court cited the 3rd clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which stipulates that officials who have sworn to uphold the Constitution and are involved in insurrection and rebellion will be deprived of the right to hold public office. This decision makes Trump the first person in U.S. history to be disqualified from running for office. Justices of the Colorado Supreme Court emphasized that they did not make this conclusion lightly, recognizing the magnitude and gravity of the issue. They underscored their responsibility to enforce the law, uninfluenced by fear or public reaction. Prior to this, there have been dozens of lawsuits nationwide aiming to strip Trump of his candidacy eligibility based on the constitutional amendment's third clause. Colorado becomes the first successful case. Trump has stated that he will appeal to the Supreme Court, expressing certainty in pursuing the appeal. The development of this event has drawn widespread attention and is expected to have profound implications for the future political landscape of the United States. News Report 3, U.S. Congress unable to approve Ukraine aid before year-end, will continue negotiations after Christmas. On December 9, the U.S. Congress issued a joint statement, co-signed by Senate Democratic leader Schumer and Senate Republican leader McConnell, stating that due to time constraints, Congress would be unable to approve aid to Ukraine before the end of the year. The statement indicated that lawmakers would continue working during the Christmas holiday and plan to pass a Ukraine aid bill early next year. The joint statement expressed the commitment of Senate and government negotiators to continue sincere cooperation and work towards finalizing the agreement despite some difficult issues remaining in the remaining time of the year. It emphasized the needs at the southern border while pledging assistance to Israel and Ukraine in addressing threats. Despite facing challenges, the Senate underscored that national security challenges would not be ignored. The statement also mentioned that lawmakers would strive to reach an agreement on border security issues during the Christmas holiday in exchange for Republican support in providing more aid to Ukraine. The Republicans do not oppose providing aid to Ukraine but request the Biden administration to take action on the southern border, reflecting a typical characteristic of U.S. politics, interest exchange and political compromise. News Report 4, Basic completion of Gansu earthquake rescue, 113 dead, campus safety issues arise. According to the paper, the rescue work for the Jiashir third-line earthquake in Gansu province was essentially completed on December 18. The 6.2 magnitude earthquake resulted in 113 deaths and 782 injuries in Gansu province, with 18 deaths and 198 injuries in Qinghai province, and 16 people still missing. China earthquake networks recorded 432 aftershocks, with the largest aftershock reaching a magnitude of 4.1. Some college students posted on Twitter, indicating that on the night of the earthquake, dormitory doors were locked, and administrators did not open them promptly, forcing students to break doors for escape. Some students reported that the facial recognition gates installed in the dormitories did not open after the earthquake, causing confusion among students evacuating. Similar situations were likened to last year's fire incident in the Jixiang Yuan community in Urumqi. CCTV reported that the earthquake triggered a phenomenon called sand eruption in the Haidong area of Qinghai province, where thick mud, 3 meters high, washed away local houses. Engineers from the China Earthquake Networks explained that after a strong earthquake, water-saturated sandy soil deep underground would undergo liquefaction, and the sand layer would surge out through pipelines to the surface, causing a sand eruption phenomenon. News Report 5, Surge in Singapore COVID-19 cases, 50,000 new cases, Health Ministry urges mask wearing and vaccination. In the past week, Singapore recorded an increase of 50,000 new COVID-19 cases, marking a 75% rise compared to the previous period. The Singaporean government decided on December 19 to resume the daily disclosure of case numbers. The Health Ministry revealed that an average of 350 people were hospitalized daily with COVID-19 during the week, a 50% increase from the previous week. The number of critically ill patients reached 9, increasing by 5 from the previous week, and infections were mainly attributed to the JN.1 variant. Facing the worsening situation, the Singapore Health Ministry urged the public to wear masks indoors or in crowded places and to strengthen vaccination efforts. The Malaysian government also stated that in the past week, confirmed COVID-19 cases increased by 62%, prompting the reinstatement of epidemic prevention measures. After confirmation, individuals need to self-isolate for 5 days and continue to wear masks for 10 days after turning negative. The rising trend of the epidemic poses a renewed challenge to the Southeast Asian region, with governments taking emergency measures and reminding the public to remain vigilant. News Report 6, Israel proposes new ceasefire plan, seeks release of 40 hostages. The Jerusalem Post reported that Israel has proposed a new temporary ceasefire plan to Hamas through Qatar. According to the plan, Israel hopes for the release of 40 hostages, including women and men over 60 in urgent need of medical treatment. In addition, Israel is willing to release Palestinian prisoners involved in more serious crimes. Israeli officials stated that during the ceasefire, they expect Hamas to release women and men over 60, as well as hostages in urgent need of medical treatment. In response, the Prime Minister of Qatar stated that Hamas is willing to continue negotiations on the condition of stopping the war. In response, Israel stated that the war would only end when Hamas lays down its weapons and surrenders all individuals involved in the attack on Israel on October 7. Additionally, the director of the Kamal Adwan Hospital was arrested, admitting that the hospital was a military facility of Hamas and has been a lieutenant colonel in Hamas since 2010. On another note, the U.S. Department of Defense announced that a multinational force escorting in the Red Sea includes 39 countries, headquartered in Bahrain and led by Vice Admiral Cupo of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. The U.S. has deployed 2 warships, the USS Kane and USS Mason, both guided missile destroyers, to escort in the Red Sea, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Aden. News Report 7, U.S., Japan, and South Korea join forces, conduct joint air exercise to counter North Korean missile threat. On December 23 and 20, the United States, Japan, and South Korea conducted a joint air exercise on Jeju Island aimed at addressing the crisis of North Korea launching ballistic missiles. In this exercise, the U.S. military deployed B-1B strategic bombers, marking the 13th dispatch of this type of strategic bomber to the Korean peninsula this year and the 3rd participation in joint U.S. Japan-South Korea exercises. Although the B-1B had its nuclear bomb launchers dismantled in 1995, it can carry 57 tons of explosives, making it larger than other bombers, and can reach the Korean peninsula from Guam in just 2 hours. The participating aircraft in this exercise included U.S. Air Force F-16 fighters, Japan Air Self-Defense Force F-2 fighters, and South Korean Air Force F-15K fighters. Earlier, on December 17, North Korea launched a short-range ballistic missile, followed by a long-range ballistic missile test on December 18. North Korean media claimed to have military reconnaissance satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles, stating that they could face any military and war threats. This exercise demonstrates close cooperation among the U.S., Japan, and South Korea in jointly addressing security challenges on the Korean peninsula. Reports indicate that the North Korean regime tends to boast, but this exercise shows that such boasting does not exempt it from consequences, especially in the face of joint action by the 3 countries. News Report 8, New Zealand Prime Minister considers joining AUKUS, emphasizes stability in the Pacific region. New Zealand's new Prime Minister, Luke Sun, stated during his visit to Australia on December 20 that he is considering joining the Australia, UK, and US partnership, AUKUS, believing that this would help ensure peace and stability in the Pacific region. This statement reflects Prime Minister Luke Sun's pro-Australia, pro-UK, and pro-US policy orientation. Although Luke Sun reiterated New Zealand's non-nuclear stance, stating that they would not be involved in the development of nuclear-powered submarines, he expressed interest in the second pillar of AUKUS. New Zealand hopes to benefit from AUKUS technological projects, particularly in the areas of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced network technology, hypersonic capabilities, and electronic warfare. The AUKUS agreement consists of 2 pillars, providing nuclear-powered submarines for Australia and promoting technical projects for advanced capabilities. This includes accelerating the development of key technologies and applying them to military areas. After the establishment of the new government in New Zealand, there has been an increased focus on security issues. Foreign Minister Peters stated that he would strengthen New Zealand's partnerships with the Five Eyes alliance partners, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. This statement demonstrates the New Zealand government's positive attitude towards strengthening international cooperation and maintaining regional security. News Report 9, U.S. Census data released, total population reaches 334 million. On December 19, the U.S. Census Bureau released data showing that the total U.S. population has reached 334 million, an increase of 1.6 million people compared to previous counts. Two-thirds of this growth is attributed to international immigrants. Last year, the number of immigrants to the U.S. was close to 1 million, and this year it reached the highest level in 20 years, totaling 1.1 million people. Predictions based on the data show that without the contribution of immigrants, the U.S. population will continue to decline. In the coming decades, the number of deaths will exceed the number of births, leading to a population decrease. This year, the number of deaths in the U.S. decreased by 300,000 compared to the previous year, contributing to natural population growth exceeding 500,000, the highest in a year since 2018. In terms of regional distribution, 87% of the population is concentrated in the southern region. California remains the most populous state in the U.S., reaching 39 million, expected to soon exceed 40 million. Texas follows closely as the second most populous state, with 30.5 million people. This census data reflects the diverse composition of the U.S. immigrant population and regional distribution. News Report 10, Taiwan Mainland Affairs Council reveals data on Hong Kong immigration, sparks social concern. According to data from the Immigration Department of the Ministry of the Interior, from 2018 to the end of October this year, more than 46,000 Hong Kong residents obtained residence permits in Taiwan, with an approval rate exceeding 97%. Among them, 8,132 Hong Kong residents were approved for permanent residency, allowing them to obtain Taiwan identity cards and passports, with an approval rate of 75%. The Mainland Affairs Council pointed out that since the outbreak of the anti-extradition bill movement, the number of Hong Kong people applying to immigrate to Taiwan has been steadily increasing, reaching its peak in 2021. Lu Changshui, director of the Mainland Affairs Council's Hong Kong, Macau, and Mongolia and Tibet Department, stated that Hong Kong people have the opportunity to become new Taiwanese after reviewing the supplementary materials. However, some Hong Kong people who have immigrated to Taiwan have stated that the Taiwanese government raised the threshold for applying for permanent residency in 2020, leading to a decrease in the number of applicants. In particular, Hong Kong people applying for investment immigration need to hire 2 Taiwanese and operate a physical storefront for 3 years, making the approval process more complex. In the first 10 months of this year, a total of 5,627 Hong Kong residents obtained residence permits in Taiwan, a year-on-year decrease of 31%. 1,011 were approved for permanent residency, a year-on-year decrease of 15%. The relevant departments are working to improve the approval measures, with efforts to expedite the approval process. The issue of Hong Kong residents applying for permanent residency in Taiwan has sparked social concern, and controversies related to national security are escalating.